The rain hadn't stopped all afternoon. It drummed softly against the glass windows of a cozy spot tucked between two busy Manhattan streets. Inside, the smell of fresh coffee mixed with the sound of jazz and the low murmur of conversations. Checked her reflection in her phone's camera for what must have been the 10th time. A soft blush, a thrifted navy blue dress, and a nervous smile. She wasn't one for blind dates, but her roommate had insisted. "He's kind, funny, and single," she'd said. Kind, that was all Ella cared about these days. A waiter passed by balancing plates of croissants and cappuccinos. Ella shifted in her seat, glancing at the door. It had been 20 minutes. Her date was late. She sighed and reached for her bag. That's when she saw him. A tall man, maybe mid-30s, entered the café, broad shoulders, soaked coat, and the kind of calm presence that instantly drew attention. His dark hair was slightly messy from the rain, and his eyes, sharp yet tired, scanned the room until they landed on her. "Ella," he asked, voice warm. "Yes." She stood a little too fast, nearly knocking over her cup. He smiled, amused. "Sorry I'm late. The meeting ran over, and traffic was a nightmare." "No worries," she said, waving it off, though her voice trembled slightly. They sat, talked, laughed. Slowly her nerves faded. His name was "He worked in business," as he vaguely put it. She told him about her part-time job at a bookstore and her dream to become an author one day. He listened, not the distracted kind of listening people do, but really listened with eyes that held genuine interest. It was easy, comfortable, until the bill came. Ella reached into her purse, heart sinking. She'd ordered a small salad and coffee, but even that was stretching her budget thin this week. Rent was due. Her paycheck was delayed. She thought this would be a simple coffee date, not a three-course lunch he'd insisted on sharing. The waiter placed the leather folder between them. Before she could say a word, Daniel reached for it. But Ella stopped him. "Wait, let's split it." He hesitated. "It's fine, really. No, please," she insisted, fumbling through her wallet. Her fingers froze. Her card, she'd left it on her desk at home. Only a few crumpled bills stared back at her. Not even enough for her half. Her face went pale. Daniel noticed. "Everything okay?" She swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Actually, I think I forgot my card. I'm so sorry. He gently closed the wallet and set it aside. "Hey, it's on me." She shook her head, mortified. "No, I can't let you." "You can," he said simply, his voice soft. "Because it's not about the bill. It's just lunch." Ella, something about the way he said it, so calm, so kind, made her eyes sting. But that wasn't the end. As they left the cafe, Daniel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, sighed, and muted it. She noticed the name flashing on the screen: board meeting, CEO call. "What?" she said slowly. "You're the CEO." He smiled sheepishly. "Guilty." Her jaw dropped. "You mean like the Daniel Cole of Cole Enterprises?" He scratched the back of his neck. "That's me. But don't let the title fool you. I still spill coffee on myself and forget birthdays." She laughed, shaking her head. "You could have mentioned that earlier." "I was enjoying not being that guy for once," he said. "With you, I felt like a normal person." That line lingered in her heart long after the date ended. A week passed. Ella was back at the bookstore, rearranging paperbacks when the door chimed. She looked up and froze. Daniel stood there holding 2 cups of coffee. "I figured you might not have had lunch yet," he said, grinning. She blinked. "You came all the way here." He shrugged. "It's not far from my office." He handed her a cup. "Also, I read that story you mentioned, the one you're writing. It's good, Ella. Really good." Her eyes widened. "Wait, you actually read it?" "I did," he said, "and I think it deserves to be seen. My publishing division would love to take a look at it, if you're open to that." Her heart skipped. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The girl who couldn't afford lunch had just found her story, and maybe, just maybe, her person too. Her debut novel, The Coffee Between Us, hit the shelves. On the dedication page it reads, "Eve tore to the stranger who picked up the bill, but gave me so much more." And sometimes, when they walked into that same cafe together, still sharing laughter over coffee, Daniel would tease, "Best investment I ever made." Ella would smile, touch his hand, and whisper, "Mine too." Success didn't come overnight for Ella Parker. But when it came, it arrived like sunrise after a long, sleepless night. Her book, The Coffee Between Us, had taken off far beyond her wildest dreams. Bookstores across New York displayed it in their front windows, and social media buzzed with readers posting dog-eared copies and emotional reviews. And through it all, Daniel was there, not as the CEO who had all the answers, but as the man who had once quietly paid a cafe bill and unknowingly changed the course of her life. Yet, success brought its own challenges. One evening, after a long day of interviews and book signings, Ella sat on her small apartment balcony overlooking the city. The lights twinkled below like 1,000 stories waiting to be told. Daniel joined her, 2 mugs of hot chocolate in hand. "You've had quite the week," he said. Handing her one, she smiled, tired but glowing. "It still doesn't feel real." He leaned back, watching her. "You earned every bit of it." For a moment, silence settled between them, peaceful like the quiet hum before dawn. Then she asked, softly, "Daniel, why did you pay that day? For a stranger you didn't even know?" He looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "Because I saw myself in you." She frowned slightly. I wasn't always this version of me," he said. "When I first started, I was a broke intern trying to survive in a city that didn't seem to care whether I made it or not. One day, after missing 2 meals, I sat in a diner counting change for coffee. The woman at the counter noticed, and paid for my meal without saying a word. She just smiled and said, 'One day, you'll do the same for someone else.'" Ella's eyes softened. "And you did?" He smiled faintly. "Wes, I finally kept my promise." They sat in silence again, both lost in thought. 2 different lives, now intertwined by a single moment of compassion that had rippled through time. 2 months turned into a year. Ella's writing career blossomed, and Daniel continued running his company, but his world had changed too. He no longer saw success as just numbers and profits. It was about people's stories, connection. One afternoon, he surprised her by visiting a small community library in Brooklyn. She found him surrounded by kids, helping them read from her book. "What are you doing here?" she whispered, watching him laugh with the children. He looked up and grinned. "Starting a literacy fund in your name. The Parker Project. Thought it was time we passed the kindness forward." Tears welled in her eyes. "You didn't have to do that." He shrugged lightly. "I know. But kindness isn't about having to, it's about wanting to." That night, when they walked home hand in hand, she realized that the richest people aren't those with the most money, but those who give from the heart. 2 years later, Café Linden still stood in the same spot, with the same warm lights and the same old jazz playing through its speakers. Ella and Daniel returned there every year on the anniversary of their blind date. Only this time, they brought their little daughter who loved the smell of cinnamon rolls and kept asking, "Mummy, Daddy, how did you meet?" And Ella would smile at Daniel, who would squeeze her hand and say, "Well, sweetheart, once upon a time, your mom couldn't pay for lunch." Grace would giggle, "And you paid for it?" Daniel would nod. "Yes, but I got something much more valuable in return." And every time he said it, Ella's heart would flutter like it did on that rainy afternoon years ago. Because love, at its core, is born from the smallest gestures, the quiet, "it's on me" moments that remind us humanity still exists, even in a busy world.